What if I told you that right now, inside your kitchen, you could grow something that contains 40 times more nutrients than anything sitting in your refrigerator? No garden, no soil, no sunlight, no special skills, just a trash can lid, a paper towel, and 5 minutes of your time. 10 days later, and I mean exactly 10 days, you are harvesting fresh greens that NASA is currently growing on the International Space Station. Greens that Johns Hopkins University found may cut your cancer risk in half. Greens that restaurants in New York charge $50 a pound for, and you can grow unlimited amounts for the cost of a single seed packet. So why doesn't anyone know about this? Two reasons. One is a cultural lie about what farming is supposed to look like. The other involves a multi-billion-dollar industry that only profits when you believe fresh food requires land, seasons, and a 1,000-mile supply chain. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you the exact 5-minute setup that turns any container in your home into a nutrient factory. But first, you need to understand what's actually inside these tiny leaves, and why it took the United States government over a decade to tell you. Welcome back to Hidden Roots. I'm glad you're here. Let's get into it. It all starts in 1982, inside the kitchen of one of San Francisco's most celebrated restaurants, the Cliff House, overlooking the Pacific Ocean. A chef named Craig Hartman made a mistake that would quietly reshape how the world thinks about vegetables. He'd ordered baby greens from his local grower, small, tender leaves for garnishing the plates of one of the city's finest dining rooms, but there was a miscommunication. What arrived wasn't baby greens. What arrived were seedlings, tiny plants barely an inch tall. Each one a miniature version of the full-grown vegetable it would have become. Most chefs would have sent them back. Hartman tasted one instead. The flavor hit him like nothing he expected. A single micro-radish leaf packed more peppery bite than an entire mature radish. A tiny basil seedling carried more aroma than a full sprig of the adult plant. It was as if someone had taken the flavor of the full-grown vegetable and compressed it into something the size of a fingernail. Hartman understood immediately this was not a mistake. This was a discovery. Within weeks, he was putting these tiny greens on every plate leaving his kitchen. Diners noticed. They couldn't identify what was different, but something on those plates tasted more alive than anything they'd eaten before. Word spread through San Francisco's restaurant scene like a quiet wildfire. By the mid-1980s, chefs across California were requesting these mysterious little plants. Alice Waters at Chez Panisse, the woman who basically invented the farm-to-table movement in America, started experimenting with them. Nobody had a proper name yet. They just called them microgreens. Southern California growers started commercial production in the mid-1990s. Restaurants charged premium prices. Diners paid without knowing why. But here's the thing. For the first 2 decades of their existence, everyone assumed microgreens were purely decorative, a pretty garnish, a splash of color on an expensive plate. Nobody thought to ask the obvious question, what is actually inside these tiny leaves? That question went unanswered until 2012, when the United States Department of Agriculture decided to find out. Researchers at the University of Maryland and the USDA Agricultural Research Service bought 25 commercially grown microgreen varieties: red cabbage, cilantro, amaranth, green daikon radish, arugula, 24 more. Then they measured the concentrations of vitamins and antioxidants inside those tiny seedlings and compared them to the same data for their mature counterparts in the USDA National Nutrient Database. The results were published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry in August 2012. They should have changed everything. Microgreens possessed dramatically higher nutritional densities than mature leaves from the same plant species. Not slightly higher, not modestly higher. The range was 4 to 40 times more concentrated. Let me give you the numbers because they're almost hard to believe. A 1-inch tall seedling of red cabbage, harvested 10 days after planting, contained 40 times more vitamin E than a full head of mature red cabbage. 6 times the vitamin C, 69 times more vitamin K. Cilantro microgreens had the highest concentration of carotenoids, the antioxidants that protect your eyes and fight cellular damage. Green daikon radish microgreens topped the charts for vitamin E. Garnet amaranth led in vitamin K. 18 out of 25 varieties tested had vitamin K levels equal to or higher than mature broccoli, which most people consider a gold standard. And this wasn't some fringe study. This was the United States Department of Agriculture and a major research university, publishing in one of the most respected food science journals on Earth. Here's the detail nobody talks about. The researchers also noted that plants grown in complete darkness had significantly lower nutrient levels. The plants exposed to light had dramatically higher concentrations. The light was the trigger. It activated something inside the seedling that darkness couldn't. That means the simple act of moving a tray from darkness into light, which takes literally 3 seconds, is the switch that turns an ordinary seedling into a nutritional powerhouse. 3 seconds of your time, 40 times the vitamins. Now here is what should bother you. That study was published in 2012. It made a brief splash on NPR and HuffPost. Then it essentially vanished from public conversation. No major food company reformulated products. No government nutrition program recommended microgreens. No school lunch initiative added them. The most significant nutritional discovery of that decade landed with a whisper instead of a roar. But the research didn't stop. It accelerated, and the next discovery, made at Johns Hopkins, was even bigger. Since the late 1980s, a pharmacologist at Johns Hopkins University named Paul Talalay had been doing something unusual. While most cancer researchers focused on treating tumors after they appeared, Talalay was obsessed with prevention. He believed plants, through millions of years of evolution, had developed compounds to protect themselves against DNA damage and disease. And maybe humans could use those same compounds. In 1991, he sent a researcher to a Baltimore market with $20 and instructions to bring back a variety of vegetables. They brought back broccoli, among other things. When they analyzed it, they found unusually high levels of a compound called sulforaphane. It triggered the body's own detoxification enzymes, the molecular machinery your cells use to neutralize cancer-causing chemicals before they can damage your DNA. The discovery hit the front page of the New York Times in 1992. Popular Mechanics listed it among the greatest scientific discoveries of the 20th century. But what happened next is what matters for your kitchen. In 1994, Talalay's colleague Jed Fahey analyzed broccoli sprouts and microgreens instead of the mature plant. 3-day-old broccoli sprouts consistently contain 20 to 50 times more sulforaphane than mature broccoli heads. 20 to 50 times. In a tiny seedling you could grow on your kitchen counter in a week. Fahey fed extracts from these sprouts to rats, then exposed them to a known carcinogen. The rats that received the sprout extracts developed fewer tumors. The tumors they did develop were smaller and took longer to appear. Later clinical trials in China showed sulforaphane from broccoli sprouts boosted the excretion of benzene, a carcinogen from tobacco smoke, by up to 61%. Research then expanded to autism, schizophrenia, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, liver disease, and even protection against air pollution. As Talalay himself put it in a Johns Hopkins press release, and I want you to hear this clearly, broccoli sprouts and microgreens may offer a simple dietary means of chemically reducing cancer risk. A simple dietary means, grown in your kitchen, for pennies. That finding was published in 1997, nearly 30 years ago. A team at one of the most prestigious medical institutions in the world discovered that a plant you can grow in a shoebox contains one of the most potent cancer-preventive compounds ever identified. Walk into any American supermarket today and count how many people are buying broccoli microgreens. You won't need both hands. So how did this happen? How does a discovery this significant get buried for 30 years? Here's where most people expect me to reveal a shadowy conspiracy. A secret memo from Big Salad. A backroom deal between the FDA and the lettuce lobby. There isn't one. And honestly, that makes it worse. The suppression is structural, economic, and cultural. Problem 1, microgreens don't look like food to most Americans. We've been conditioned since childhood, by advertising, by farming imagery, by school textbooks, to believe agriculture means acres of farmland, tall corn stalks, fields stretching to the horizon. A plant you harvest at 1 inch tall from a plastic tray in your closet doesn't fit that mental model. It doesn't require the equipment agricultural companies sell. It doesn't need the fertilizer, pesticide, and herbicide products that represent hundreds of billions of dollars in annual revenue. Every dollar you spend growing microgreens at home is a dollar that never enters the industrial food supply chain. Problem 2, microgreens are too easy. They violate every assumption modern consumers have been trained to hold about food production requiring complexity. You cannot patent a radish seed. You cannot create a subscription model around a paper towel and tap water. You cannot build a billion-dollar logistics network to deliver something that grows faster than your Amazon package arrives. The simplicity is the threat. Problem 3, microgreens are perishable. They last 5 to 10 days refrigerated. You can't ship them globally like frozen beef or canned vegetables. The entire economic model of modern food depends on products that can be stored and sold weeks or months after production. A food that's best eaten the day you harvest it naturally favors the grower over the corporation. The system doesn't need to actively suppress it. The system simply ignores what it cannot profit from, and consumers never learn what they were never taught. Here's the math that should make you angry. A single 10x20 tray of microgreens costs about $2 in seeds and produces greens with more vitamins than a $20 bag of mixed salad from the store. The economics are so lopsided they feel like an error. They're not an error. They're the reason you were never shown this. While nutritional science was revealing what microgreens contained, something else was happening 250 miles above the Earth. On May 7, 2014, NASA installed a small plant growth chamber called Veggie on the International Space Station, roughly the size of a carry-on suitcase. The mission, figure out how to grow fresh food in space, because on a mission to Mars lasting years, the vitamins in prepackaged food degrade. Astronauts need fresh nutrients that no freeze-dried meal can provide. In 2015, astronauts harvested and ate red romaine lettuce grown entirely in orbit, the first fresh food ever consumed in space that hadn't been brought from Earth. Astronaut Scott Kelly called it a big leap toward Mars. Since then, the crew has grown Chinese cabbage, Mizuna mustard, pak choi, radishes, and wasabi mustard, harvested specifically as a microgreen after just 10 days. NASA's project scientist Gioia Massa put it directly: microgreens have between 4 and 10 times the nutritional density of a mature plant. For space travel, where every gram of payload matters, microgreens offered more nutrition per unit of space and time than any other crop tested. But here's the part that connects directly to your kitchen. The LED grow light technology that makes indoor microgreen farming possible was originally developed by NASA. In 1990, NASA funded research at the University of Wisconsin on using light-emitting diodes to grow plants. That research continued at Kennedy Space Center through the 2000s. The LED grow lights filling closets of microgreen growers worldwide exist because NASA needed to grow food in a tin can orbiting Earth at 17,000 miles per hour. The technology was built for space. It works just as well in a trash can in your apartment. A technology designed to sustain human life on a journey to Mars is available at your local hardware store for $12. Nobody told you to buy it for growing food because nobody profits when you do. All right, I promised you the 5-minute setup. Here it is, exactly. Before I start, what I'm about to describe will sound too simple. You're going to think I'm leaving steps out. I'm not. The reason this works is because the seed already contains everything the plant needs for its first stage of life. You're not farming. You are unlocking nutrition that's already stored inside the seed the way a battery holds energy. All you're doing is adding water, a surface, and a little bit of light. What you need: 1. Any shallow container. A standard 10x20 nursery tray is what commercial growers use, but a baking dish works. A takeout container with holes in the bottom. A recycled plastic clamshell from the grocery store, 2 to 3 inches deep, is all you need. 2. A growing surface, not soil. A hemp mat cut to fit is the cleanest option, about $1 per sheet online. Coconut coir works great. A folded paper towel works in a pinch. The medium just needs to hold moisture and give tiny roots something to grip. 3. Seeds. A single packet of broccoli microgreen seeds costs $3 to $5 and fills multiple trays. Radish is the fastest, ready in 7 days. Sunflowers give you hearty, nutty greens. Pea shoots produce sweet, tender greens that kids actually eat. Buy seeds labeled for microgreens or sprouting use and make sure they haven't been treated with fungicides. 4. Water. Filtered tap water is fine. If your tap is heavily chlorinated, let it sit in an open container overnight. 5. Light. And here's what surprises everyone. Microgreens do not require sunlight. Any light source works. A cheap LED shop light from the hardware store, a desk lamp, a windowsill with indirect light. Even ambient room light works for some varieties. The growing process: soak your growing medium until thoroughly damp, not dripping. Lay it flat in your container. Scatter seeds densely across the surface. For most varieties, you want the seeds almost touching. This is not like planting a garden. Density is your friend. Mist the seeds with a spray bottle. Then cover the tray with another tray flipped upside down, a piece of cardboard or a dark towel. This is the blackout phase. For 3 to 5 days, the seeds germinate in darkness. This forces the seedlings to stretch upward, searching for light, which gives you taller, more harvestable greens. Mist once or twice daily during this phase. After 3 to 5 days, uncover the tray. The seedlings will be pale yellow. That's normal, they haven't seen light yet. That's actually exactly what you want. Now expose them to your light source. Within 24 to 48 hours, something almost magical happens. Those pale yellow seedlings turn vibrant green. The chlorophyll activates. Photosynthesis begins. You are literally watching life switch on. Continue misting for another 4 to 7 days. When the first set of tiny leaves, the cotyledons, have fully opened and look bright and healthy, your microgreens are ready. Grab a sharp pair of scissors. Cut just above the growing surface. Rinse gently. Eat immediately or store with a paper towel in your refrigerator for 5 to 10 days. Here's what will happen the first time you do this, and I mean this genuinely. You will feel like you cheated. You will look at a tray of vibrant green life that didn't exist 10 days ago and feel like you skipped something. There is no way food this beautiful, this alive, this nutrient-dense grew from a paper towel in your closet. But it did. Let's talk varieties, because this is where it gets fun. Broccoli microgreens, the Johns Hopkins cancer-fighting champion. A single serving delivers more sulforaphane than eating 2 pounds of mature broccoli in a week. Radish microgreens, peppery, bold, transforms any sandwich. Fastest variety, ready in 7 days. Sunflower microgreens, nutty, satisfying crunch. Kids eat them by the handful. Pea shoots, sweet and tender, taste like the freshest snap pea you've ever had. So popular in Asian cuisine that street vendors in Southeast Asia sell bags of them the way Americans sell popcorn. Amaranth, stunning magenta color that makes any plate look like fine dining. Cilantro, basil, mustard, beet, kale, arugula, dozens of varieties, each with its own flavor and nutritional profile, all from the same simple setup. And a 2016 USDA follow-up study found that red cabbage microgreens fed to mice on a high-fat diet dramatically lowered cholesterol, reduced liver fat, and decreased inflammatory markers compared to mature red cabbage. Same plant, same genetics, just harvested 10 days after planting instead of 3 months. The timing of the harvest changed everything. Here's what they never wanted you to understand. Nutritional independence doesn't require land. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require expertise, permission, or a growing season. The most nutrient-dense food ever measured by the United States government grows in any container, under any light, in any climate, in any apartment, in any season, in 7 to 14 days, from seeds that cost less than a cup of coffee. The San Francisco chefs who stumbled onto this in the 1980s knew it was special. They just didn't know why. The Johns Hopkins researchers who measured the sulforaphane in the 1990s knew it could fight cancer. They couldn't make the food industry care. The USDA scientists who published those numbers in 2012 gave the world proof. The world shrugged. NASA scientists growing them on the space station right now know they are essential for human survival beyond Earth. A seed is not just a seed. It is a compressed library of nutritional information. Millions of years of evolution packed into something smaller than a grain of rice, waiting for nothing more than moisture and light to express itself. You are not farming. You are curating a living pharmacy that renews itself every 10 days. And unlike any pharmacy you've ever visited, this one costs less than a cup of coffee to stock. The seed already knows what to do. It has known for millions of years. It just needs water, a surface, and a little bit of light. 5 minutes to set up. 10 days to harvest. 40 times the nutrition. No soil, no sunlight, no permission needed. The only question left is whether you'll start. If this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know yesterday, hit subscribe. because the next video goes even deeper and you don't want to miss it. I'll see you in the next one.